we'll get started soon here. This is great. We'll send you a t-shirt. That'd be a better choice. Heidi, you want to kick us off here and we'll get started? I know people are still filtering in, but we'll get started here.
They are still filtering in. Welcome, everybody. I am Heidi Russell, the program coordinator for the EMHRM program. I've been at Cornell for over 15 years, but I'm fairly new to the program. So I like to say I know a lot about nothing, but you can always ask questions for me and reach out to me as you go through the process. We are recording this information session, and so it will be available later on. If you have questions, please use the Q&A button, and we will try to get to all your questions when we can. Did I miss anything, Susan?
No, we'll just put them in the Q&A section for us. We love questions, so please feel free to put them in. If there's any questions that's uniquely specific to your personal situation, we'll follow up with those directly with you online. Okay, offline, and we'll communicate. So, hey, thanks for joining. Really happy to have a great turnout today, and especially thankful to our 4 alumni friends here who agreed to join us for this conversation. We're not going to spend time today on the call going through the basics of the program. You can find that on our website or in the recording of our last session. Of course, as you can see, Heidi's a very friendly face, and she's always available to take phone calls, and she actually is very knowledgeable. So I'm Susan Beauregard. I'm the executive director of EMHRM. I've been doing that for the last couple of years now. I retired from GE, where I headed up people operations there, and I loved that. And when retirement came, I wanted to find a way to be participating and give back. And I'm deeply committed to this program because I think it's fantastic. So I hope we convey that to you today through the experiences of our alumni. So with that, I'd actually like to ask each of them to introduce themselves. And I'll just kind of, based on the tiles here. Michelle, can you introduce yourself and your current role?
Yeah, sure I can. And yeah, ironically, I can remember being on this call as I was making the decision to come to Cornell. So I can literally remember being pulled over in the car. I was traveling, and how important this call was in my decision-making process. So hello, my name is Michelle Day. I head up HR for 4 parts of business within Pearson. I support the Workforce Skills Division, strategy, direct-to-consumer, and marketing. And I live outside of Boston.
Great, thank you. Natalie?
Hi, everyone. I'm Natalie Bova. I work for a company called Plug Power. We are a hydrogen energy company based in upstate New York, but we are global. I am a director in an HR business partner capacity, mainly working with our chief technology office as well as our corporate support executives.
Great. And class of?
Class of 22. So
Class
it's been
22.
a little bit, but not too long.
Michelle, class of 23.
Class of 23. I forgot. Like, I didn't even say that. Yeah.
That's all right. And here's your other classmate, Raul. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes. So hello, everyone. Raul Castaneda. I'm the Senior Director of Talent Management for Electrolux. We're a Swedish home appliance company for the North American region. And yes, with the mighty class of the 2023 with the amazing Michelle.
That's great. And you're located in Charlotte, right?
I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, correct.
All right. And thank you, Brian.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brian Padilla. I work for Lionsgate, a film and television studio, and I lead the HR function for our television businesses across television productions, both scripted and unscripted, and also our TV distribution business, which is really important, especially now during the strikes that have been ongoing, at least one of them. And I also manage our production HR function as well. So our HR partnerships with actual on-the-ground cast and crew. And I am in Los Angeles, of course, and I also am class of 22.
That's great. And you can, it's interesting, guys, just to see the diversity of industry and even geography just based on these 4. It's kind of fun. Mm-hmm. So just quickly, like, why did each of you decide to pursue a master's degree? You're already clearly very successful in your profession. What was behind your decision? And maybe, Brian, we'll go backwards. Want to start with you?
Sure. Yeah. I've got a pretty nonlinear background. My education really began in the realm of music, and I fell into HR, thankfully, like so many others, and progressed and was promoted and saw a lot of growth and loved what I was doing. But I really had this want to formalize the knowledge that I had. I learned everything that I learned in my various roles, but I really, I didn't want to be arrogant about sort of, the function itself. I wanted to humble myself and actually, learn from others, learn from my peers within the program and the professors. So that was really it. Just this want to formalize my knowledge and to gain a broader perspective, across the board from professors and students alike.
That's great. How about you, Nat? Why'd you come back?
So I have been at my organization for 8 years, but when I was looking at master's programs, it was around the 5-year mark, and my company had started when I joined at 340 employees, and we were up to about 1,000, and we were planned for growth to double in size. We're now currently at 4,000. So I really wanted a program that could help me look at more of a strategic lens for myself, having, seen that small company feel, but also learn from my peers, like mid, large size. And as you can see from, the 4 of us here, you get a lot of diversity in how people look at things, whether a large company or small company. And I wanted that so I could help grow with my current organization.
That's great. How about you, Michelle?
Yeah, so there were 3 reasons. First, I wanted to, I would say, legitimize my HR career. I pivoted into HR career and HR into the midpoint of my career from sales and marketing. So I always could see gaps where I just didn't know some basics. And so I really wanted to, like Brian talked about, really round that out. Next, I wanted to go to the best program that I could, Cornell, obviously, top of my list, and thankfully got in. But the other reason I wanted to go is because I knew that great program would pull a very strong cohort. And, learning from people in the classroom, I know we talk about it but it is game changing. The ability for me to reach out to people when I'm thinking about things around talent or strategy and to have a network, I knew that would be important, and it really expanded my network.
No, the peer learning in program and after is tremendous.
Amazing.
Great. Well, how about you?
Yeah, I would say, I'm originally from Mexico, although I've been living for several years here in the US. So one of the things, education is very important, for me. And I was looking at a very competitive program, but also that could give me that kind of network outside of for the companies that I have worked for. And say if I get access to an institution that will bring this kind of high caliber of talent, I can kind of networking. So that was what I was looking, something that will challenge me, someone that will help me to develop this network outside of for the companies that I have worked in the past. And I would say when I went to the residential week, it was a blown mind that great professors, but I would say just the caliber of the talent that were in those sessions. And you see where people were chiming in and say, this is the program. And
that's great.
That's what I decided to pursue this specific program, and I stay in the program, of course.
Yeah, that's right. You sure did. So I'm going to stick with you for just 1 minute, Raul, because one of the things that I think you have a great story on is how you translated what you were learning in the program back to your company while you were in the program. And maybe you could tell that story briefly, because I think it's a good example.
Yeah. Actually, it was fantastic. So, the Electrolux were going through a huge transformation, right? As an organization globally, and of course in North America, we represent roughly kind of 33% of the EBIT of the company, right? So whatever we do in North America, it will feel in the rest of the organization. And I was kind of leading a large team, and we were going through projects. For me, it was very easy to what I was learning in terms of change management, design thinking, etc. And during that transformation, we went through a hiring freeze. And I have a group of, let's say, 11 recruiters, right? Of course, they were getting nervous to say, Raul, there is no position to recruit. What we're going to do? Say, hey, no worries. We pull like 17 different projects, and they didn't have any knowledge about project management. So we were just going through the program about learning about design thinking. And said, well, this is a very easy to digest content. So I pulled my team aside. So here's what is design thinking means. These are the steps that are going to these projects, and I start assigning those projects. So it was for me a great experience to reinforce what I learned in the classroom, but also transfer that knowledge to my team. So I start building that kind of new muscle. And at the end, we were able to, let's say, deploy projects that we didn't have the bandwidth before, and we're able to do it. So that kind of get resulted to, again, accomplish several of those projects and nominated to a leadership awards, because the team say, Raul, I know you are busy doing your master's, but now we can feel it, that you're really transferring that knowledge to us. Because I was, hey, I learned yours this, let me share this with you. I learned this, let me share that with you. So it was a kind of two ways, a win to win for my team, but also I found a way for me to repeat what I was learning and say how I can download this academic content into how in the real life looks like.
Sure, and make it stick. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Really great. Brian, I think you have a story as well, right? How you translated
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think really when I left the program and throughout the program, my mindset really shifted in a sense towards immersing myself within the business, right? It's really, and I was on this sort of path of this mindset for a while, but I think the program really helped me to bring back to my work this notion of questioning, right? Thinking, whether it's an HR initiative or something that the business is proposing, does it solve a business problem, right? It's a really important question that so often I've seen, forgotten. That are we solving for a business problem, or is whatever that's being proposed, does it connect and tie to our values, right? Does it support the business, that we're here operating and here to see succeed, right? I think that has just been so important for me and has made me such a better partner to my senior executives when we think about really everything. We're thinking about their strategies. I'm plugging in, not from the lens of, oh, what could we do? What might be nice to do in terms of learning, or what are some, things you could offer your employees? It's really a lot more practical and tied directly to the outcomes that they're seeking. And I think that's just been so tremendously valuable. And the other element of it is thinking about all of the amazing coursework that we had and all of the amazing speakers that we heard. For all of you that join this program, you've got to download every piece of material. Because if, for example, I've been asked to speak on a panel next week at a conference and to speak about hiring perhaps non-traditional, employees, thinking about those with disabilities or veterans and so on, right? We had so much research provided to us throughout the program on these topics, right? So I'm always looking back to those. And the other piece of it is on research. The program really instilled in me that you've got to do your research, even every day in my profession. If there's something at hand, if there's a company initiative, if there's a thought to launch, like recently we had someone think that they wanted to launch stay interviews at Lionsgate, right? I'm going to dive in and research that and share that, right, with whatever team that I'm working with to inform our decisions in a more meaningful way. So really, again, it's that connection to the business, tying myself to everything in support of that business success. And then also, doing that research and leveraging the materials that we gained and learnings throughout the program.
Yeah, that's a good point to raise, because the program does train us not to rely on our instincts, to always go back and get fresh insights. Michelle, did you want to add something?
Yeah. I'm thinking about all of the chatter on LinkedIn around skills. We all see it, right? And what I didn't realize going into the program, but I now know now, is from a skills perspective, this concept of deep thinking and being reflective and thinking about your own bias and being what I would call a business person first and HR person second. Those things, the program was so authentically targeted at helping me do that. Be a better thinker. I spend way more time thinking now and realizing my instinct isn't right. I do have a bias, and I go much broader to look at other options. And so I think that part of the program, and all during the program, this focus on business first. What is the business strategy? I really thought it would be all HR, but it was a really business-led program, which makes me so much more credible with all the stakeholders I'm supporting. I think so much more marketable. And so that was a great benefit of going to the program that I didn't realize going in, but I certainly see now that I'm through it.
Interesting. Okay, cool. One of the things that you guys touched on actually earlier was the network, the friendships, the peer learning that comes out of it. And maybe, Natalie, maybe you can talk a little bit about that, and then we can chime in about some of the residential sessions and how those build. So
yeah. Prior to joining this program, I mean, I had a fragmented network, I would say, that was more locally based in the Albany, New York area. But one of the amazing benefits of it is we have a super strong connection with our cohort that I've actually built, I would say, lifelong friends. So the fact that one of them sent me a Christmas card, you know, things like that, where we've connected on a personal level. And I've been fortunate enough to be sitting on the alumni board of the program, which allows me to not only connect with my current cohort and make sure they're getting information after we graduate, but also people like Michelle and Raul that you meet in these types of programs. And you develop this network where like any problem you have, like I just sent a note out to our group text, hey guys, do you know anything about this platform in Workday? We're thinking about exploring it. It's like a lifelong benefit and it's my favorite part of the program. Like the coursework, the professors, everything's great, but like having this network of people that you can reach out to that understand HR, because as you grow in HR, you can't always talk about everything with your peers in the business. And this program offers you those resources, which has just honestly been my favorite thing. So yeah.
It's great.
No,
So-
more if you don't mind if I chime in.
Of course.
I went to one of my classmates' weddings, and it was in Germany, and we went with 5 folks from the program, and I traveled to Germany with a a former classmate, right? So the connections are they're genuine, and I call my former classmates all the time. I called one of them last night to get their thoughts on something I'm working on. So the access and the network built is it's incredible.
Yeah, and just to build on that, just to make a plug for the on-campus, hey, we all spend enough time behind the darn screen, right? And when you look at all the programs that are out there, those 3 weeks on campus, that is game-changing. Meeting professors live, being together, going out for a drink at the Statler, like that camaraderie, those friendships, there's no way that you would ever get that from an online program, full stop.
No, you really wouldn't. Raul, do you have any comment on the residential
Yeah, I
section?
would say just what Michelle really resonates, because when I was assessing different programs, there was a lot of them that were kind of online, right? It kind of easy, right? When you have a full-time job and you have family and kids, right? So you're looking for which ones could give you the easy route, let's say, to complete the program and get it done. But in my case, my objective was really networking. They say, and when I start talking with other friends that have complete online programs, say, Raul, great program, but the networking doesn't really happen, right? The bonding, it never happens. So when I would look for the Cornell program, days, you are fully immersed for a full week, 8 to 5. This isn't like a 3 hours and then you're going back to your emails. No, you are 8 to 5 for a whole week, and say, okay, this is the program, and that's exactly what just Michelle mentioned. That relationship was a game changer. At the beginning, if you have not done any education after you graduated from, let's say, from your bachelor's, right? It takes time to say that muscle is not very fit. So
That's true.
the first months it was like, oh my gosh, do I really want to stay in this program? But I said, well, let's say, Raul, stick with it. And of course, we create a WhatsApp that we were supporting each other to say, no, hanging in there, you can do it. But after we went to the residential week, it was like, hey, just suddenly I have 23, 24 new brothers and sisters. And it just felt that way. And when I was having some challenges at the personal level, well, the professional level was just reaching out that network. And like you, Brian, I just came back from Brazil for a wedding that one of the people got married. So really that networking really happens. I need some information. I reach out to the team, say, hey, does anybody knows a network? I need to talk with somebody, people, executives in the healthcare. Say, Raul, I know somebody in my network. That person helped me to connect to that person, and I was able to get the information that I need. So that was the residential week for me. Was I think I make the right decision. Say, this is what I think I will get from this hybrid program. Once you get in there, say, no question. It's a really good one.
I think would be good for you guys to talk about a little bit is what the residential sessions are like, because I think people are afraid they will come there. There'll be a lot of lectures. And it's really not like that at all. So maybe you could comment on what the environment's like, the vibe, the mix of topics, whatever.
I can jump in on it because it was honestly, they're my favorite part of the program outside of the network. You get a mix between Cornell professors that are just the amount of research and like knowledge that they share on just emerging topics is unbelievable. But the group discussion, and like Brian was in my class, hearing his take on like a situation giving me that extra perspective that I can go back and bring to my organization is unmatched. And you get the perceptions of, I'll say it again, all different size industries, organizations. So you can really think about, am I looking at this through the right lens? Not to mention you get to get a feel for Cornell itself, the history, like the absolutely unbelievable alumni, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, all coming out of this university. It's incredibly impressive, and it's, known to be the best HR school that there is. So I think you get a mix of the history of Cornell, you get to meet your colleagues, you get to see professors, and you get, different types of leaders in the HR industry coming from different organizations. I'm trying to remember some of their names, but I'm talking, retired executives or executives that are currently in place telling you how they built their HR structure. You just don't get that anywhere else. And all in 7 days, it makes it for a really nice refresh.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, so often we're helping people in our organizations, we're developing them, we're focused on others. How cool is it to take time for yourself, come on campus, throw your backpack over your shoulder, go to class, and be in that interactive environment. And then the after hours things, getting together with new friends for dinner, and just feeling part of Cornell. Again, I would say if it's an online program, I truly feel like I'm part of Cornell because I've walked the campus, winter, spring, summer. I have been there in the seasons and experienced its beauty. And so to have that and to focus on me and my development and learn in a very immersive experience, I think is just, again, it takes me away from being behind my screen and puts me much more into a deeper level of learning and understanding that can't be replicated online.
Yeah.
And
I couldn't agree more.
really, very quick. Sorry, Brian, to interrupt you, but when I was, again, assessing other programs, right? There are several programs they have designed this program that you go to a full Friday, Saturday, half day Sunday, and then you are back, right? So it's okay that, like, let's say, less disruptive into my personal life and also a full-time job, right? So when I saw this program say this is Monday to Sunday, or let's say, or Friday to the following Friday, say, oh my gosh, this is going to get intense, right? So let's see what happened. And I don't think so you can create this level of bonding that I think the team had mentioned before if you go into like a 2-3 days. Really, let's say being kind of literally immersed for 7 days, 8 to 5. And after that, you have the energy to do kind of the bonding, going to the Stellar Bar, other stuff, or you were kind of, responding to some emails, but continue chatting. That was the fantastic. And said we have some professors that actually will come with us after the real hours. So that was kind of that additional. It was fantastic.
Yeah, they're very approachable. Brian, were you going to say something?
Oh, I couldn't agree more with what everyone has said. I think it's really an opportunity you've got to immerse yourself and really, as Michelle touched on, invest in yourself. Take that week for yourself and make sure that you're doing everything you can to, take in all of the amazing programming. I mean, there were just so many amazing discussions, lectures, and really interactive activities. Susan, I'm drawing a blank on the name of the company. We had that role-playing opportunity where we were, really
the Tyco
ethics,
building
right?
and ethical.
The Tyco, right? That was unbelievable, right? It was just such a unique opportunity, and to have somebody in the building who worked at Tyco and who managed the process, right? I mean, these things are amazing, and it's just such a great opportunity to just really take it all in and get to know your colleagues. It's great. I can't speak more highly of it. I think, Natalie, it was my favorite part too.
Yeah. And guys, I think, what I really like, if I can just chime in too, is the culture in the class, which is honest, trusting, able to be vulnerable. So it's not success theater in the classroom. It's all about, I need to learn this. I don't know this. I can share that, whatever. Right. Yeah. Yeah. You don't. Yeah, I think I love watching the dynamic during the residential weeks. It's kind of my favorite part too. Plus, you guys are a lot of fun. So, the other question that comes up too is, how did you manage this? You guys have big jobs, you have families, you have friends, you have other things. How'd you manage it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to go first on that one, as I'm sitting at the dining room table, the same place I sat every weekend in order to get all my coursework done. So, hey, it's hard. It is a commitment, and it is a choice. And someone said that to me early on. You're making a choice about where you spend your time, and there will be a lot of things that you can't do anymore. It is a choice, and it is worth it. I'm a single mom. I was recently divorced. I had a new job. I mean, literally, I was like, I must be crazy thinking I'm going to do this, but I stayed on the path. And yes, there were moments where I phoned a friend, Amanda Owens, my friend in the program, and was like, I don't know if I can do this. And she'd be like, yes, we can. Like, let's work together. So I would phone a friend. I had my system down. But, make no mistake, it is not a walk in the park. It is a commitment. It is sacrifice. But it is so worth it. I can't believe I did it. Some days I'm still like, did I really do that? Are we sure I
You
graduated?
sure did.
But I did.
Michelle,
Yeah.
I have to comment though, because I saw your daughter at graduation and how
Yeah.
proud she was of you. So
Yeah.
to some extent, that's another outcome is your family sees your
Yeah.
continuous learning and they're proud of you when you're done.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think for me, I think on that, I do think it's manageable. I personally am a bit of a procrastinator in life. I always have been. So, but even still found the time to complete the work. But, to Michelle's point, it's a lot and it's a commitment. I mean, I think for me, it was maybe at least 12 to 15 hours a week, which, I would tend to do marathon days, which I would not recommend. If you space it out a little bit of a time, over each day of the week, I think it is definitely manageable. But it was challenging, and you've got to be committed, and you know that every Thursday night and every Sunday night there's going to be a deliverable, and you adjust, you find the time, you carve it out.
Yep. Get more efficient at some stuff. Natalie, any tips?
My thing was for me, it's hard. I'm not gonna lie on this. Like, you have to figure out in those first 6 weeks how to manage it. But like Brian said, like, there's a routine to when things are due, so you can try to map out if you have a busy week coming up to work ahead. But it's like nothing good comes easy. You put in the work, and like the rewards are amazing. Like the amount of knowledge I have, the connections, it's all worth it. But it's not going to be it's not a layup program. And I'll say that honestly, because if you think it's just going to be 2 hours a week, that's not the case. Like, there's sometimes where I spent a full weekend like looking at a project, trying to figure out how to approach it, spending time, and that's why you do the program, to learn from it. But I found my routine. So like I would do a little bit each work night, like a 2 hours here, 2 hours there, and then I devoted my Saturday and Sunday mornings because that's where I felt like I was most effective. And I think by having that routine, to me, it allowed me to feel like, okay, when I'm not doing work or school, I can relax because I have a plan in place. Brian and I are opposites though. He would joke because he would stress me out because I'm more of a planner on that, but you find what works for you on it and you figure it out.
And he
Yeah,
always skidded
right.
in on time, so it worked for him. Right?
Well, and even if you have, because I essentially would dedicate my Sundays, which sometimes you needed more than 10 hours on a Sunday to get something due, and then they're late things can happen. They didn't happen often, but they can happen. There's a penalty for that, but the program is understanding.
Yeah,
So,
that's good.
yeah.
We also too would help each other out. I'd be like, Brian, you might want to start this one. I'm confused. You know what I mean? And we
Natalie would notice if I didn't post my discussion boards on time. So
Yeah.
there is accountability.
You had a friend.
Yeah.
Raul, how about you? You still have kids at home? What was going on? How'd you manage?
Yeah, I think like Natalie mentioned, is you're signing for an IB program, right? And that says a lot, right? But I mean, it's achievable, right? Because I said we have single moms, people just getting married. We have in our class somebody was just having a baby halfway during the program, right?
Yeah.
And so I say the program is achievable, right? But you need to put the effort, like Natalie mentioned. Right? So in my case, I have to adjust. I didn't know, to be honest, how much the amount of work that needs to be done. Again, it's been years and years the last time that I went to school. So it was to go back to that routine of being a student. But once you learn your cadence, I was myself just putting like 2 hours every day. And to be honest, my family went through the learning process, right? They didn't know what to expect from having a dad and a husband and a son going to an IB master's program, right? So they were kind of seeing the fence and saying, oh my gosh, this is way more of what you told us, Raul. But they learned, right? But at the same time, we are very proud that you are making this commitment, that my dad is not early in his career, but he's pursuing a master's program. And I can hear my kids telling their friends, my dad is doing a master's in Cornell University, right? So they can say also with pride.
Yeah.
But again, but it was just pick your pace. It worked for me that every day I will put 1 or 2 hours, and my family learned and say that is not available. To be honest, some Friday nights not available, and I'm an early person, not the rest of my family. So to be honest, I will sneak, going in a quiet place to my office on very early Saturday and Sunday. So I will try to knock out most of the work, spare a little bit time, say, let's go for a yogurt, let's go for lunch, but I need to come back to do homework. And the
so
other
it's
one
kind
is
of like a different strategy, it's, and I
so
do
you need,
think
again, you need to find your
15
pace.
months. Yeah, it's a
And I think the other
15-month
one,
push. Yeah.
sorry for interruption, Susan, but I would say just really, again, the bond that you create with the cohort was amazing, because like somebody mentioned, right, is hey, I have no idea what they are asking, or I'm struggling finding some information to do some research, and the team was, hey, try that one or try that one, and say, have you checked this one? So this is a program that you're going to get the individual certificate, but you have this kind of extended circle of support, and so if you leverage that, you have this.
That's right. You're all set. Great. So one more question just before we flip over to the questions that are coming in. One of the pillars of the program is actually the capstone project. And I would love to hear about your experience with that, because again, some people who are considering the program are a little intimidated by that. What is that? How will I find a project? So does any one of you maybe want to share how that went for you?
Yeah, I mean, I can start and give some advice. So my project evolved, and if I had to do it over again, and it was hard because my company was changing. Like, we're all probably in businesses that are transforming all the time. So it's hard to find something to anchor into that you can like take it for 15 months. And so I think I would have spent more time with my manager, really defining what I should be doing. My project had a lot of dimensions that added value back to the business. That was clear, but I wish I had scoped it wider. I kind of went too narrow, and I am so thankful for that project because it forced me to go back into the material and really apply it. I was always applying it week by week. I was like, my brain was bigger, and I was thinking about things through the lens of the Cornell program. It was so fascinating how that was happening week by week for me. But I think that the rigor of the project forced me to literally go back to the things I had printed out or saved on my computer, look at what I had learned, and bake it into applying at work. So I can't imagine the program without a project. But I think my lesson was, I wish I had done a different project, and I would have spent more time up front, really getting stakeholder alignment on it in a deeper way, not just a superficial way.
That's interesting. Michelle, what was your interaction with your two advisors? Maybe kind of just briefly.
Yeah, they were super helpful, always available, gave me great feedback. And again, I think I should have used them more. I was in a world where my company was changing so much. It was so hard for me to anchor into something. And there was a lot of disruption. Even the players I was working with were changing. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with change. But the advisors were great. I just think going way back to the beginning, I probably anchored into something that I knew was going to change. And I should have spent more time fleshing that out with my manager and my advisors.
Yeah. So before I jump to Brian on this, just for the audience. So each student has an assigned Cornell faculty member as an advisor, and a Cornell an industry executive, a very senior HR executive from industry, who participates with you on your project all the way through, providing feedback and counsel. So it's an interesting arrangement. Brian, did you want to say something about yours?
Yeah, I was going to say, I guess sort of similar to Michelle, I think looking back, I spent a bit too much time within my projects trying to accommodate for perhaps elements of my organization that are not functional per what we're learning in the program, and that's not what you want to do. I think looking back, I wish I had just you got to really look at what the program has to offer, what your learnings are, what the practices are, what the processes are, the tools that you have at play, and you want to apply those by the book. It's your opportunity to really do something that's research backed, that is supported by your advisors, and that's ultimately going to help your business. But I spent a bit too much time trying to sort of work around, different sort of dynamics within my own company. but found my footing in the end, right? And the advisors were great. I'll be honest, they were intimidating. I mean, they were very direct and they'd give you feedback. And if you were doing something that really didn't make sense, you knew about it.
Yeah.
So I wish I had sort of let in with that, but I found my way. And in the end, really was able to do a ton of research, pull a lot of data and show my advisors that, what this project was merited, right? And that data informed it. So it was a success in the end, but I think like you, Michelle, I spent a bit of time kind of finding my footing, but it was a great experience.
Interesting.
Can I add to that for a second?
Of course. Yeah.
To build off of what Michelle and Brian said, like this is your opportunity to connect all the separate courses together and apply it to your business. And I guess if you look at the course schedule, it seems overwhelming, but there's targeted due dates for it that are broken up based upon like what courses you've had. So you have time to work it in. It just feels daunting when you look at it. I remember I was getting very stressed over it, but I was making it more than it needed to be.
Yeah.
And I think knowing that now, I wish that was the only thing I wish I could tell myself is don't overdo it. Like take it for what it is and connect the dots in a phased approach. But my advisors were great because I had Becca, who is one of the professors in the program, who was giving me like that really research lens and trying to like input the frameworks. And then I had Dan, who was a retired HR executive, I think from Welch Allen, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, CHRO. Yep.
He just he knew my organization, like he had read about it in, the news and like was just like, yeah, like apply it this way, and was like connecting like two different visions with it. So it was cool to just see the way I could bridge everything together, and they helped me through it. And they did give me tough feedback from time to time, Brian, like you said, but it was worth it because I was like, okay, I need this reset. Let's take a step back. So I learned a lot.
Yeah, I think that access to that expertise, both academic and leadership, is very unusual. That kind of that one-to-one feedback.
It's also, Susan, very humbling. I mean, I'm at a certain level in my career and I do not claim to know it all, but I learned so much about what I don't know. I was like, I almost felt like I was consciously incompetent. Oh my gosh, I don't know what I don't know. And I really loved how the professors, in a really positive way, would expand our thinking and challenge our thinking, because you get into this mindset with your company where you got it, the playbook, you're going to no, there's a whole other way of looking at things. And that was really beneficial to have that diversity of thought that challenged my thinking.
And the challenge. I mean, some people really want to be challenged, and then that's a great gift to be challenged like that, actually.
Oh, Susan, I was going to say we should speak to, while we're on this topic, that we were broken into smaller, like sub-cohorts, right, for our project. So we had an opportunity to meet with advisors in a group of 4 or 5 people. And so you had visibility to your classmates' projects, right? And that was inspiring and also humbling. And you saw kind of the range of what folks were working on. I thought that was a great piece of it too.
More pure sense and sharing.
Yeah, and Susan, with those, I felt like you grouped us with like, a manufacturing group or entertainment industry. And it was interesting. Like I had someone in my group who works at an 80-person company and someone in my group that works at Honeywell. So their projects were very different in how they approached it. But I just keep speaking to that point because no matter what type of organization or what type of industry you're in, like you find those that like you can relate to and those that look different to expand your thinking.
Yeah.
Well, Natalie and Michelle, Raul and Michelle can relate to this. We added a new tactic with their graduating class in July, where we had a CEO elevator experience with them, where they had to pull a question out about their project that the CEO might ask and answer it impromptu with their cohort of peers. And it was fun. Well, it was fun for me, I guess. I don't know.
It was stressful, but fun.
Yeah, executive practice. Well, I think we've gone quite a while and probably answered many of the questions that have popped up. Heidi, are there any questions out there that people want to pose to the group?
I know we didn't really talk about whether anybody considered the MBA at all or not, and what was the deciding factor in choosing the EMHRM program over the MBA.
I actually did consider an MBA. Actually, it was one of the things I was just about to do. And somehow Cornell mailed me on LinkedIn with this program, and I saw the course schedule and I said, this is exactly what I want to do. Like, I read the topics and I was like, I'm excited for what this has. And that was the deal breaker for me, was the actual types of courses that you have, because there was a little bit of like, we took a finance class, and for me, like, that was enough finance that I needed. Like, I can read our 10K, I learned the cash flow, like I learned those core basics that you can get from an MBA, but this was more bent towards what I want to be for like an HR executive. So that was my deciding factor, was just the actual program entails overall, and like, this was going to set it better prepare me than an MBA would.
I will just chime in very quick. Actually, the before COVID, yeah, I kind of signed up and I was getting ready to start an MBA, and then COVID happened, right? So kind of program was kind of suspended. So that gave me kind of this, okay, now maybe I can take this time to kind of reflect what I really want to do. And when I start reviewing I always been doing in my career kind of talent management, right? So I was looking for a program that can give me the non-HR, a little more kind of the HR business partner flavor. And to be honest, the other one is, in my career, I reviewed the financial commitment for an MBA, and it's significantly way more expensive. And to be honest, in my case, was another factor. Say, I want to go to an IB program. I want to get this networking component, but also I want a very good academic, like let's say the program design. I want how it was kind of designed the program. When I review those elements, it's a Cornell, very good school. I really how the program was designed, and the investment that this program requires compares to executive MBAs was, to be honest, it was almost 50% less. So when I combine those three factors, in my case, that was the decision factor. Say, I think Cornell is a good program, and then me that I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, say, the 3 times during the program flying to Ithaca to New York is not it's an easy to do, but and then during the program we learned that were people coming from Japan, from Brazil, from Kenya. So say, well, I don't have an excuse to use this. Say, I'm flying from North Carolina to New York. But again, that's what is one of elements that I consider to decide between going to an MBA or pursuing another master's program.
Great.
Well, I could speak to that too quickly. I seek guidance at the time as well. I was considering an MBA, and I spoke to a lot of really executives who I consider mentors, and a lot of the advice I received was, really think about what you're going to learn and how you're going to bring it back to the role that you're in and the career path that you've chosen. And then a lot of the advice I received was, if you go for an MBA, you may want to consider pivoting out of HR, right, and go work within the business. Because I actually spoke to a couple mentors who have MBAs and they're HR executives, and their programs didn't connect sort of what's the business with an HR strategy in the way that we study, right? So if you're going to pursue a path in HR, I found this program to be a bit more targeted and very beneficial in that sense. And the other piece of advice I received was, take one-off courses, take another finance class, take a class where you're diving deep into P&Ls so that you can, speak to the business side of things, specific to your own, organizations, but that you don't necessarily need an MBA if, for this path. You don't necessarily need, would it help? Absolutely, 100%. But I just found, after kind of weighing both options, that this program in particular would give me just enough in terms of the business side of things, but more than enough when we think about how I'm applying that in the role that I'm in the path that I've chosen.
Great, good. Good. Well, that's great. Yeah. And I think, the unique thing about the program is probably in most MBA programs, you won't end up with 25 executive HR contacts for the rest of your life either. There would be a much smaller population of people with that objective. So that's great. Heidi, if there are no more questions, maybe we will wrap it up. If any other questions sitting out there, are we good?
So just one more, and I get this a lot when I speak to people on the phone or they put meetings on my calendar. Thinking about your colleagues in the program, what point in their career were they at?
Yeah, there were, I think that speaks to the diversity of the program. There was a wide diversity, and I found that so helpful. From where people are from, to Raul's point, Kenya, Brazil, Japan, to age, to background, the diversity in the classroom. Again, it was one of those things I didn't think about going into the program, but once I landed and I felt everyone and saw everyone and got to know people, that again expanded my thinking. I know there's the criteria to get into the program, but aside from that, I think that wide diversity is really helpful, because our employee populations are diverse. That diversity of thinking and industry just helps us be smarter and make better decisions. So I really liked that.
I couldn't agree more. I think, it was a humbling experience in my particular cohort. There were, I had colleagues who were maybe 8 years into their careers, and then we had colleagues who were CHROs, right, who had been working for 20, 25 years. And so you really kind of got such a broad perspective, and you got to kind of see where your opportunities were, in the room. It was a very humbling experience, especially when we think about the dynamics of a very seasoned CHRO. We had one in particular I can recall talking about boardroom dynamics and so on, right? Things that perhaps if you're not in that role, you're not doing, right? And so for me, it was very inspiring. It was a broad range of levels.
Yeah.
And Brian and I were in the same cohort. We had someone who just went into a CHRO role recently, that this program was helping prepare from that. And like for me, I was in the earlier part of my career on the 8-year mark when I joined, and it's intimidating a little bit. I'd come from a smaller mid-sized company, and the first interaction I had, I was like, oh wow, like am I meant to be here? And the professor said to me, yeah, you are. So like whether you're in the earlier stages of what the program looks for, or I would say we had a whole mix, or maybe you're getting ready for retirement. We had someone like that who just wanted to challenge themselves. So it's a great mix. No matter where you are, you can do it. Just put the effort in and you'll get it done. But it's something that is humbling and also just so rewarding in that same sense.
That's great. All right. Well, I think that's a great comment on which to end. And first, I want to say such a warm thank you to Michelle and Brian, Raul, and Natalie for joining us. All of them have been such great partners to the program and a lot of fun to learn with, which I think is another thing to think about. You want to go someplace where it's fun to learn.
Yes.
Where you're challenged and you're safe, but you're also having a great time. And I can tell you, these guys had a great time. So thanks to all of you for joining us today. I really appreciate your time. Please follow up with Heidi if you want to chat with us, or I'm happy to chat with folks as well. Our next deadline for application, which is a priority review deadline, is December 15th. So if you're considering applying, that would be a great time to get your application in for review. All right. So thanks, everyone. Have a great afternoon. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Susanna. Go Reds.
Thank you.